be required to prove attendance in at least 6 months of counseling, professional or religious, before being allowed to file for divorce.
Okay, this helps to preserve marriage and family stability. So if you look at this, I've done a lot of research on this. It indicates that 70 to 75% of couples who engage in therapy report improved relationships. Statistically, you can look this up anywhere else. And not to mention this, but it also reduces societal costs. Divorce imposes significant economic burdens on society, from increased reliance on social services, the higher legal system costs, things like that. And I can even approach this on the encouraging accountability and effort. Mandating couples upholds couples' accountability for their commitment, also protects vulnerable parties. So in many cases, one spouse may feel pressure to agree that a divorce without fully exploring alternatives can be a thing. Counseling also provides neutral space for them to address power imbalances. I'll concede my time.
All right, you had 15 seconds left. That's awesome. Just start talking when you're ready, horseradish.
So I personally do not believe that the government should be involved in marriage in any way, shape, or form, that the benefits to the government or that the government's awareness of or interference in a civil union of any sort between any two people is an invasion of our privacy as citizens. I believe that we have a freedom from religion as well as a freedom of religion. And as such, we should be able to conduct our lives regardless of the predispositions of our religious founders. And I'll concede.
Okay, this helps to preserve marriage and family stability. So if you look at this, I've done a lot of research on this. It indicates that 70 to 75% of couples who engage in therapy report improved relationships. Statistically, you can look this up anywhere else. And not to mention this, but it also reduces societal costs. Divorce imposes significant economic burdens on society, from increased reliance on social services, the higher legal system costs, things like that. And I can even approach this on the encouraging accountability and effort. Mandating couples upholds couples' accountability for their commitment, also protects vulnerable parties. So in many cases, one spouse may feel pressure to agree that a divorce without fully exploring alternatives can be a thing. Counseling also provides neutral space for them to address power imbalances. I'll concede my time.
All right, you had 15 seconds left. That's awesome. Just start talking when you're ready, horseradish.
So I personally do not believe that the government should be involved in marriage in any way, shape, or form, that the benefits to the government or that the government's awareness of or interference in a civil union of any sort between any two people is an invasion of our privacy as citizens. I believe that we have a freedom from religion as well as a freedom of religion. And as such, we should be able to conduct our lives regardless of the predispositions of our religious founders. And I'll concede.
I'm really glad you brought that up, because in nowhere in my argument that I state the government.
Hold on.
Yeah, the time is the clock. Go off, King.
I know you guys are ready to go. All right. I've got 5 minutes on the clock. Let's make this a good, clean fight, guys.
Oh, yes, sir.
Nothing below the belt. Just keep it clean. Keep the ad homs down. All right, ready?
It's too pretty for me to insult, sir.
Okay. All right. You ready? Just start talking.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the government, because nowhere did I mention government overreach. Counseling can happen through church clergy, things like this. So we can even have communal support through community.
The word required was in the prompt, which means that it is enforced by law. If it is
required could be any state. This could be from church authority or anybody else like that. Right?
Required. In order if there has to be somebody who is able to prevent you from dissolving your marriage, and that would have to be,
this could be religious
the government
as well too. This could be clergy or anybody else.
Okay, so I don't.
Can I get married outside of the government?
Because I'm not a part of one.
Right? Can I be married outside of the government?
You should be able to. I do not believe.
Right. So I can, through the abstract, I can demonstrate this, right? Which refutes your whole point, right?
No, it does not. So
it does.
Okay, please, by all means, demonstrate it in your abstract.
Okay, so if we can have marriages outside of the government, which means like a civil union, things like this, we can even say that, people, in a marital situation could say, okay, through the Orthodox Church, I could say, well, I want to just omit the government from this. This is something that we would encourage in society, but well, who would we appeal to in this marriage?
What is the purpose of marriage, and more importantly, what is the purpose of divorce?
The purpose of marriage is to, by the way, we're kind of skirting along outside the subject.
Very, very directly on the subject. Please answer.
Right. No problem. I have no problem addressing this. So the purpose of marriage is to represent the body of Christ, which means the man representing the man and the woman representing the rest of the body and the kids and everybody else like that.
To whom?
To whom? To the church.
Representing that to the church. So you believe that the marriage should be exclusively to the church and should not be acknowledged or mandated by the government at all?
I think that the government should work hand in hand. I think that we can work through symbiotic relationships with the government. Yes.
You do believe there should be marriage laws, and those laws are going to be enforced by the government, right?
No, hold on. The enforcement arm, as far as child support, things like this.
Super important. Is there because I don't know the answer to this. Is there a church out there that actually will divorce a marriage? Do churches sanction divorce? They do?
Churches can sanction divorces.
Okay, is there special criteria?
If you look at Hindu relationships, they can do this. That's why they have fewer divorces.
If that church dissolves the marriage, does it also dissolve in the eyes of the government for purposes of inheritance, for purposes of insurance, for purposes of property ownership? Does that marriage dissolve if the church dissolves it? The answer is going to be no. And so
the answer is not going to be no. We have tribes in society that do this outside of governmental authority.
Please just let me say, in order for the government to enforce marriage laws, they have to have some sort of control. In order for it to be a requirement for the divorce to go through, it has to be mandated by the government, in which case the government is involved in our marriage. And
who do we plead to? Who do we plead to as Orthodox Christians? By the way, that's my belief system.
As an Orthodox Christian, that's the point. We're talking about marriage being divorced.
We have to go through a tier system before we can go to a government authority. We have to do this. So if I want to do this,
everybody does. So again, the only thing that's universal,
correct, which you can't make a monolith of this. You're literally making a monolith, and we can't do that with it.
You can do whatever you want in your church. You have that freedom, but we also have the freedom.
Correct.
And the only people that matters in my marriage, other than my wife and I, seems to be the government. And so in order for us to get a divorce, we would have to go through a process. We would have to go through the process to get that divorce. The prompt here reads that a requirement to that divorce is going to be us going through some sort of counseling. So I'm answering to the government.
Who do people do marriage counseling through? Who do people do marriage counseling through? The church? If they're religious?
Their doctor, their psychiatrist.
They can do this through that too. Right. You're granting me all of this. I appreciate that.
You have to require, in order for it to be a requirement, there has to be somebody who's going to enforce that divorce from being divorced if I don't meet those requirements.
You're a Christian ethical system. I can do this.
If I'm not part of your religion, then your religion has no bearing on me.
Correct, but that's your own choice. You can appeal to government authority, or you can choose to opt out and then have a religious ceremony yourself.
We've already established that if your religion dissolves your divorce, it does not immediately also dissolve it in the eyes of the law. The required part is inherent to law.
Well, that's the choice. I think that we can mitigate divorces if we have a process of a 6 month, so that way people can actually think through their decisions. Whereas, so no fault divorce. No fault divorce is horrendous. We can avoid this through, if a wife wakes up and says, because you breathed wrong, I could just end this. This
absolutely her private, that is her private right as an American citizen.
Correct. So even omitting the state, I can definitely make a case for saying that we can mitigate divorces by saying
the secular,
not this, but help the family stay together.
And time.
Okay. All right. That was good. That was good. Thank you for not speaking over each other too much. I
appreciate a horseradish.
And that was really good. I can't wait to get to the comment section. Anson, go ahead.
Yeah, Marte won. Horseradish. Nobody takes you seriously.
Thank you, arsonist.
Arsonist. Hey, he is an arsonist, by the way.
Go set your beard on fire, baby.
Hey, what's up, Cleaner? Good to see you, man.
How you doing? I think that during the openings, Radish was touching on some points that would have been really good points to continue arguing. A couple of them he did, but in order for an opening to be really strong and impactful, you've got to have a claim, evidence, and an impact. That's something that the audience can see and feel whenever you're trying to give like an opening statement. Also through your arguments, whenever you're in the meat and potatoes of the arguments, if you can show those things, it'll have a tendency to touch the audience more, which will put you more in favor of winning the argument in the minds of the audience. And he got 2 points in his opening. He did make some good ones. Marte, I got you at 4 points in your opening. You actually did 2 times. Your 2 main points had a claim, evidence, and an impact on society, like how it would impact people. And so you got a little bit better scoring there. Through the meat and potatoes, you guys are pretty touch and go with each other throughout the rest of it. It was real close to the rest of it, but the openings really sealed the deal. And I had Marte 2 points higher than Horseradish on this one.
Okay.
Cheers.
All right, Tyler.
Muted, bro.
I want to say I hated this one. You guys got bogged down in an argument about the prompt. Horseradish will tell you the only debate I've lost on his channel, we lost 0 and 3, and I also would not let go of arguing the prompt because I know how important it is to get that prompt on your side. You guys were arguing about requiring proof of attendance, and the entire time you argued about the requirement part of the prompt. And I agree with Horseradish's reading of it, that the requirement part means at the end of the day, even if you contract it out to churches, the authority ultimately lies with government, and the church or the person that goes through the church has to eventually report to government to get the marriage officially annulled, to get your assets separated and things like that. I agree with his argument, but I don't think you guys actually argued the point so much. You were just really focused on the prompt, which really kind of made my grading hard because like a lot of the things I judge are how well you argue with the prompt and make your points, and your points were all around what the definition of the prompt. I don't know. It really fucked me up. So I only went with Horseradish because I agreed with him because, again, we just didn't get into the debate proper, I feel like.
Okay.
Fair enough, yeah.
Membership to the Continental has been by thine own hand revoked.